Welcome to the other morning show. My name is True Powers Mind. This is the show. Believe it or not, I do have a sidekick. He'll be coming in shortly. We're just getting ready for... No. Not yet. I'm just doing the main...
Oh.
This video's running, though. We're doing the pre-show.
Leslie, contribute to this.
Yes, Leslie from...
Olympia, Washington.
Yes. Oh, that right on. Yes, Leslie. And
you fucking converted me.
Shit.
One.
Hey, can you open up the door and reach in there and give me the sword? We can't do shit without the sword. It should be right on top. Well, there's several
Which
swords.
one? Shit, it's like 8 in this motherfucker.
There we go. Well, it will not be a normal show without Gary from Allentowns,
Pennsylvania.
Yes. Okay.
There it is.
Here it is.
I'm gonna start.
Oh.
Hello?
Hello.
Hi, this is Lani. We're checking in just to make sure that everything is working fine.
Yeah, everything. We just did all the systems check. I actually have a offline video going right now, but we're literally about ready to start the show.
Okay, and David's on the other line, same line. We're at the Unarius Academy of Science together. Center.
Hello there.
Excellent.
Hey, how y'all doing?
Good. How are you?
All right.
It is finally good to hear your voice, David. We had an excellent conversation with Lena this afternoon, me and Daryl. And on the show, I go by True Powers Mind. He goes by Dimebag Darley. That's just our little stage names or whatnot. Kids seem to like
Do
it.
you mind if we just call you Patrick and Daryl just so we don't have to remember so much, or do you really want to be called that?
No, I don't mind. I mean, like I said, we're here for you guys. I mean...
Yeah, that's
It's
fine.
no state secret who we are. It's just
Okay. Well, it's just a little easier to remember.
yeah. That's
And especially because we can't see you and see who's talking and associate the names with a face.
absolutely.
So her name is Lani.
Lani and David.
Yeah. I watched.
So we're about ready to go live on Periscope.
And YouTube, yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, in about a couple of minutes, so we'll be good. It's it's only 7:24, so we're good.
I'm gonna go a little early. Doesn't matter. We did. You was able to get the email I sent to you.
No, I didn't. I checked a couple times up to about 5 o'clock and...
Oh, okay. Yeah, I it must have been at least... Wasn't that terrible? Maybe a couple hours ago I sent you back. The link would be Dimebag TV on YouTube.com. If you just went to YouTube and typed in Dimebag TV, that channel would be where it's hosted at live on YouTube. And then we also
okay.
and we'll also have it live on Periscope as well.
Yeah, it'll be.
Okay, so it's Dieback at YouTube.
Yeah, Dimebag TV at YouTube.
Dieback TV at YouTube. Okay. Oh, Dimebag. Okay.
Dimebag.
They get everybody.
Dimebag. Okay, yeah, I remember that from your email. Okay.
That name stands out when you say.
Oh, certainly.
Like, okay.
It's a little hard to understand. So.
Oh, can you not hear us very well, or?
No, I can hear you well. It's just sometimes, I don't know, the static is a little bit, it makes it a little bit hard to understand, but will, I'm sure it'll go fine.
Okay. Alrighty. So we should be going live. Oh, that should be fine now. I might have had the speaker too close to the telephone, so I just pushed it back a little bit.
Okay. Yeah, I know this afternoon I was holding the phone away from my ear because it was...
We're blaring.
Must be you got good projection.
We could be a little bit hard of hearing sometimes.
All right. So, Are we live now?
Whenever they ready. We'll go through the...
Are you going to do like an introduction to the show? And
Yeah, we're going to do
a question, or how do you want to do it?
Yeah, we're actually going to do an introduction to the show. Well, we do our spiel. At the end of that, we're going to say the day, give out the date. I'll say in the year of our Lord, and then we'll just start the show.
Are you recording this to play back next Friday?
No, we're actually going live right now, and I'm making a hard copy so I can edit it and put it on my YouTube channel.
Right. Okay.
Because normally I sometimes use my phone when we don't have a call-in guest, and it is tethered to my Facebook account, so I can use that. But tonight I'm using my wife's laptop, so a little bit of challenge. I am not the most technical guy in the world. I'll be honest.
All right. No worries.
But,
all right, so let's go live.
There's lots of questions coming to us.
Yes. There will be questions.
hold on, let me just tweet
this one moment. It's so quiet. It's too quiet in here.
Huh?
Well, we didn't know if you were trying to gear up your electronics to start.
We're live on YouTube.
Oh, we're live on YouTube. That's fine.
We're live on YouTube.
This is classic The Other Show moment. Once we get more money and get the little interns and all that, this will be laughable. But until then, we must stay the course.
All right.
All right.
We live on Periscope too.
Okay. Excellent. Excellent. Well, welcome to the show, folks. My name is True Powers Mine.
I'm Don Magdorley.
And this is The Other Morning Show. What is today's date?
Today is January the 20th, 2018.
The year of our Lord. So, today we have very special guests from California. The Unarius Academy of Science. We have Lani and David on the phone. Lani and David.
Yes, and it's Unarius.
Unarius.
Science, and my name is Lani.
Lani, I'm so sorry. It's just been a rough day for me. Just please bear with me. I am so thankful. I just want to give a special thanks to Celeste Appel for allowing this to actually happen.
Thank you very much.
And yes, thank you guys, and thank you, David, too. And the information these two individuals will be sharing with us on the show will be information about energy, concerning Tesla, and then there'll also be information about how to deal with the stresses that all of us feel going through this thing we call life on the third dimension. And perhaps we can start off with the question about creation.
Well, let them introduce that.
Give
us a little background about the Unarius Academy of Science, so our audience can just get some little general information about you guys.
Okay, so Unarius Academy of Science is an educational foundation that was founded in 1954 by two very advanced clairvoyants, Ernest L. and Ruthie Norman. And they brought through many books. Again, they could have brought through all the information themselves, but they were in contact with advanced spiritual masters. And so rather than, a lot of people think of, I channel one being. But if you think of, Tesla and Gandhi and the artists and philosophers and scientists who have had as their goal to help mankind. Those are the people who have come through with information about all different kinds of subjects, from civilizations, ancient civilizations that haven't been recorded in current history, such as Atlantis and Lemuria, of life on other worlds, both physical life forms and spiritual life forms, so in another dimension. And the future, the continuity of life, so that we're all energy beings, and we have had many, many past lives, and we'll have many future lives. And there is a science to it. It's not just well accepted on faith, but how can you understand energy past what they have currently proved with the third dimensional capabilities that they have right now? Just because.
And how exactly do we do that?
Dr. Norman one of the founders, he was an infant prodigy, not a child prodigy, an infant prodigy. He had an extremely high IQ and scientific IQ. So as he grew up, he knew he had a developed clairvoyant mind, unlike those people who he grew up with. And when he met Ruth Norman in 1954, they got together to form this spiritual mission. And one night in meditation, Dr. Norman, or Ernest Norman, was presented with this word to call this spiritual mission. It was called Unarius. It's an acronym. It means universal, interdimensional, articulate, let me rephrase that. Universal, articulate, interdimensional understanding of science, or the science of life.
Yes.
Meaning, the life that you and I live in the third dimension, there's a science to it, like Lani was saying. And when you have that knowledge of what's going on, why we're here, what's the purpose of life, what happens when I die, where will I go, will I ever be incarnated again, those are definite answers that mankind is thirsty for, and Ernest Norman and his wife brought through this information. And now we have this great library of Unarius. He was in touch with his higher self. He described his superconsciousness, and he described how people could develop their own higher self. It's a beautiful science to live with.
And it's something that anybody can learn. It's not just, they were advanced and that's why they could do it. No, that's why they brought through all of these texts, so that each person could learn how to apply the science themselves and understand themselves and progress in their own spiritual evolution, not just physical evolution.
So do you think like the role you play now has something to do with like your past life?
Yes.
Okay.
All of your lives, this is what Darwin did not talk about because it wasn't time for him to talk about that part of evolution. We have evolved through many lifetimes, many worlds, and we have accumulated either positive traits, creative talents, or we've created the negative, or we have a balance between the two. And so we bring through, from life to life, lots of those characteristics. We change from one sex to the other so that people have a balance in their evolution. Eventually, you will learn to evolve from this world into higher worlds. This is just a beginning world.
So there's a principle here, if it all sounds far-fetched, that you may have heard in your science classes of energy is never can change form, but it can't be created or destroyed, but it can change form. So even though we have a different physical body when we come here on Earth each time, that soul or spirit or that energy body, what we call a psychic anatomy, that's what goes with us from life to life, and that's where those experiences, whether they're positive or negative, traumatic, they reshape our energy body. And so when we come into this life, it's not like we're a clean slate. We carry with us all of those things from past lives. So, for example, if you had a very traumatic death, you were stabbed with a sword, or you fell off a cliff, or you drowned, those experiences go with you from life to life, and you might not know why you have a fear of, going on a boat in this lifetime. But if you could get into your Akashic record or see some of your past lives, then you could track down the original cause.
See,
you can cancel that energy out.
See, that had me, that had me thinking, as I look through, like, all the stuff that I've been through throughout my existence on this planet for 38 years, and all the stuff I went through, and it makes me start thinking, like, I wonder what experiences I had in a past life, if that was so to be true, it's led up, is probably why I'm going through. I just wonder if some of the stuff that I did in my past life, it's got me going through the situations and I'm doing the things that I'm doing at this present moment.
Absolutely, because those experiences are just energy.
Right.
And that energy will follow you, and you will re-encounter that energy in different forms.
Yeah, you'll be attracted to the things that you need to deal with and work out. This Earth is a schoolroom, and so we come back we experience these things and resolve them in a positive way.
Now, speaking of Earth being a school, I often refer to the Earth as the mud ball, but we have to understand that there are certain issues that we all can no longer deny or accept, or not deny or accept, reject. The idea of automation. Why I bring this up is it's going to be clearly vastly important for people to be able to have psychological coping mechanisms when they find that there's a robot that basically replaced them on the job. So the philosophy that you're speaking of tonight right now seems like it could be a very essential part of that, because as a society, yes, we all have a common shared past. Some of it's ugly, but some of it's quite beautiful. But in order for us to really progress to the future, we have to take these very narrow dogmatic ideals that are very evasive and quite frankly running our society, and open that up to the best of us, not just to the oligarchs or the DNA bloodline, but to the best. I mean, I have no problem with government or governing of the masses. I just have a problem with that power being handed down from basically little enclaves of people down the line throughout time and space. That's why it was important for me to get you on the show, so that people will at least have the ideals that these things are souls, the afterlife, a deja vu, all these sensations, these almost sixth sense perceptions. They're very real. In other words, when you was talking earlier about we carry some of the meanings of our past lives onto this world. Well, what?
Yes. May I interrupt you?
Yes.
And say that the lessons you've learned in a spiritual way in your previous lives, those lessons are part of your higher self, your positive self. It's very important to take the experiences and learn from them. Even though they may appear negative on the surface, as you well know, they can be turned into beautiful lessons of spirit, and then you can be a help to other people around you, to the world at large, because this is just a learning dimension, a schoolroom.
So there's really no dynamics such as, eternally bad or eternally good, because we need the duality.
There's cycles, and even as negative as it seems in the present, with all the wars and hatred and
terrorism,
bigotry and arguing and so forth, and politics and religion, there's been even worse cycles in the past, in past civilizations. And the thing is that a lot of people may have a regression or something and remember one past lifetime, but we've all had many past lifetimes going back hundreds or thousands of years. And there's been civilizations that have been more advanced than this one technologically, where they've had space travel and so on and so forth. And so over that period of time, we've accumulated a lot of negative junk in our psychic. And again, going back to the schoolroom concept, we're here to work it out. And you can't change anybody else. I don't know if you've tried, but I've certainly tried. But when you change yourself, everything around you changes. The people around you change. The environment changes. Your body changes. Everything and this is the hardest part about Unarius, is taking responsibility for whatever happens in your life.
May I add, there's a very important principle that Unarius teaches, and it's not that we're the only ones who teach this, is the energy returns to the sender. Always. No exception. So this works for each individual and each planet. Each planet has the same responsibility. So, as you know, if you want positive energies to return to you in your future or in present life, you act in a positive,
Way.
aggressive
Right.
way. You're kind to people instead of being harsh or cruel, and that way you live by a very important principle. It's just living in tune with your higher self, your super consciousness. And then it's not easy to do this, especially when somebody cuts you off on the freeway. It's not easy.
Well,
It can be done when you look at your thoughts. It's just energy. So that's very important to understand, that we all try to understand and live by, is that if we receive negative energy from some situation, then we know that we've sent it out in some way, shape, or form in previous lifetimes, or we've even compounded it by regenerating it over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
And
So-
now this energy is coming back to us.
So,
However,
I don't mean
we
cut.
do have a higher self, and we do have spiritual guides who help us through all this stuff.
So is that why, like, sometimes the body feel like it's like when you receiving like negative energy, and is that part of the reason why a lot of times you feel, how when you receive a negative energy you feel fatigued compared to where when the energy around you is positive, you feel more upbeat and energized.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and when you think a thought is energy, and it doesn't just stay in your cranium. It's going out like a radio, broadcasting. So you're constantly broadcasting, and so are other people. So whether you're conscious of it or not, I mean, if you're not clairvoyant, you don't know this, but, you're feeling that energy, whether you realize it on as I said, a conscious level or not, you're feeling that energy. So other people's thoughts are affecting you just as your thoughts are affecting other people. Even whether you take action on them or not, just having the thought is that setting that energy in motion.
Now, speaking of energies and emotion, how long has the Earth been around?
Well, scientists think it's about 4.5 billion years old, but it's academic. It's really, who knows when it was created, but it was created by an infinite intelligence. Some people call God, which is a very poor description.
Yeah.
It's not anything to do with the Christian God who waves a magic wand, but the Earth, along with all the other star systems, the galaxies, came into existence by this great energy systems, by forces that are out of this dimension, or the fourth, the fifth, the sixth, and seventh. So this world was created by a tremendously intelligent, an infinite mind, if you will.
And is that mind still in existence?
Absolutely. It is eternal. It is without limitations of any kind. It is infinite.
And
so, I know that you're really interested in the creation of the universe and so on and so forth.
Yes.
But so rather than talking about a biblical God who, by means of some hocus pocus, created the earth in a certain amount of days, or even this more scientific vein of, the Big Bang Theory, we think of God, so to speak, as infinite creative intelligence. And it's something where people need to start to understand how energy functions.
Yes.
So here on the third dimension, we have a linear energy, like a sine wave of time and space. But then once you get beyond that to other dimensions, you start to get into cyclical energy, for example, without time and space, or vertical energy, or dimension, all different kinds of dimensions.
Now you're starting to talk like a light worker.
To understand such a vast concept as, the creation of the universe, you have to start with baby steps of understanding how energy functions, because we're energy beings, and we're just specks of energy in an ocean of energy. So if you think of it maybe in a more simplistic terms of, for example, all of the energy waveforms that surround us on a daily basis, the TV waves and radio waves that are penetrating the walls around us, and we interpret them or see and hear them with our five senses because we have, machines to do so. But
Yeah.
they're constantly there. And so starting to understand this, that we're surrounded by energy and what it is and how it functions, that's a beginning step. And then that expands your mind. When you understand that, then you're open to a larger perspective.
Let me expand on one thing Lani mentioned. Cycles. This is what Einstein was trying to describe in the space-time continuum. He did not understand what was being brought through his mind because he was a little clairvoyant himself. But the world he was trying to help or teach did not understand these concepts of the fourth, the fifth, the sixth, and other dimensions.
Right.
So it became twisted. And by the people who tried to understand his work. And Ernest Norman explains what he was trying to get at, and Dr. Norman explains all of these concepts really easily for the average layman to understand. Now, if you look out into the universe with telescopes, you'll see worlds that are being created.
Yeah, we observe them.
And worlds are dying off. And so creation is going on all the time around us.
It's a violent
Every cell in
storm.
your body is dying and being created. Every atom is dying and being created at an incredible rate that is beyond our human comprehension. It's an incredible universe we live in.
Now, do you think that, us as a species, do you think there's like, do you like feel like there are other outside of our planet, other planets where life is, it's just not us?
Yes. Yeah, there are many solar systems and other galaxies who are in worse shape than we are.
And if you think of the fact that space is filled with billions and billions of planets, not only the physical planets that we can see, but ones that vibrate on a higher frequency that we can't perceive with our physical sight, but they're still there.
Right.
And at some point in time, just like you can't see heat per se, or you can't see a radio wave, but it still exists. It's the same thing with, other forms of matter that vibrate on a higher level above the rate of our five senses to perceive. They're still out there. So yes, there's lots of planets with physical beings such as us, and there's ones that exist in higher dimensions that are not physical, but that still, as you develop clairvoyance, you can be in touch with, just like the Normans were for the teachings of Unarius.
Well, so is planets like, this kind of goes along with Zachariah Sitchin's work, but like Nairobi real, the Anunnaki, are those true civilizations, or was that fantasy made up by him to sell books back in the day?
The 10th planet, we don't have any information on that. I have a personal opinion, but there are many different planets in this galaxy that we have information on. Our closest neighbor, Mars, Ernest Norman, took several psychic trips to Mars and talked with the leader of that planet. His name is Muriel, and he described why they had to move underground. They live underground in vast cities, and they have an incredible advanced technology, about 100,000 years ahead of us.
Why did they have to move underground?
Good point. That's a very good question. Okay, so we had on our world a couple of very beautiful civilizations. They were extremely positive because beings traveled here via spaceship to help us become more enlightened and live together in harmony and peace, right?
Right.
They landed here, and one of the planets was called Lemuria. This was toward the center, closer to the center of the Milky Way than we are. So when they landed here, about 156,000 BC, they crash landed, and they got their ship up and running, and they psychically knew that they were drawn here for a mission, so they built a pyramid, a complex. They started to send back a beam so that their home planet could find them. And then they started sending other Lemurians here, and they found this area in the middle of the Pacific. So they brought a lot of the leaders from all the tribes who were kind of warlike to this center, this civilization, and started teaching them. This is recorded in the Bible as the gathering of the 10 tribes. Now, they named the civilization after their home planet, Lemuria, and the capital city for a while was Mu, M-U. And for many thousands of years, the civilization flourished in a positive way and tried to teach all the Earth people how to live peacefully together by living according to principles of energy, as best they can understand them. Well, the Lemurians at one time had to leave us on our own to see how we learned their teaching, right?
Right.
So then they left us on our own, so to speak, and then we eventually, slowly, started to take the technology they shared with us, and we perverted it, and we twisted it and made it into weapons.
Nuclear bombs.
So this technology became so dangerous that the higher spiritual dimensions had to send a countering force. So there was a sun that exploded, part of the galaxy, our galaxy, and part of that nova, a huge chunk, came into our solar system. And the Martians saw this thing coming. They had about 200 years to prepare for it. So they started moving their civilization underground because some of their Martians were very clairvoyant and they had advanced telescopes. They knew this was not a good thing. So
they actually looked around to see if they could go to Earth and another planet first.
Four.
Now, was that planet Tiamat still in existence when this was happening? The planet that became our...
I'll finish my little story here.
Yes.
So this nova exploded. A huge chunk came into our solar system. This is 4 times bigger than our sun. And it came so close to certain planets that the atmosphere of Mars was ripped off. There's hardly anything left of it, of the atmosphere of oxygen and whatnot. And it neutralized the civilization called Lemuria. The whole civilization sank in the bottom of the Pacific. And so the advanced spiritual dimensions had to neutralize what was going on. So the Martians knew they had to do something, and they had to move underground, in which they did. They had a very advanced technology. They could do that very easily. We have a little book that Dr. Norman wrote called The Truth About Mars that goes into detail about what happened.
Now, where can people buy this book if they wanted to purchase it?
Now, this is on our website, unarius.org, or you can call the center here,
619-444-7062.
Our website is undergoing a little bit of a problem right now. We're working on the technical glitches.
Okay.
But you can order this online.
And we could also order the other books?
If anybody ever comes out to visit California, be sure and stop in the center in El Cajon. It's near San Diego, and all of our books are here. You can sit down and read here like a library, or you can buy and take home. But we'll talk about all our resources near the end of your show, but lots of different ways that you can find out this information.
Excellent.
Now, when Lemuria was beginning to undergo such a negative living where people were battling each other and they had the extreme weaponry, a lot of the people had left Lemuria and developed colonies all around the Pacific. And some of the architecture in the Yucatan was a direct, result of the advanced architecture of the Lemurians. Now, and so some of the people actually moved to other parts of the world, escaping what they knew was an impending disaster to that civilization. So years later, Atlantis, that was a colony at that time, began to flourish. That's a whole nother story.
No, the story about the continent in the Pacific that you was just now talking about. It's funny, since you was talking about it, it reminded me of the story I saw on the internet. They have found a submerged continent. It's like off the coast of Indochina and Thailand, in that region of the Pacific, in between like Australia and Hawaii. And
Oh yeah.
I find that quite fascinating.
Yeah, our technology is getting so good with undersea exploration. One day they'll discover parts of it, and when that day happens where we're able to go down there and retrieve some of the library records, it'll open up a whole new understanding of history.
Now, is there a library
Also
under the
off
Sphinx?
the coast of Cuba, with some of the underwater imaging technology that they've had, they've found remains of Atlantis, which was in the Atlantic Ocean, where they can see pyramids and roads and buildings and stuff.
I actually heard about that too.
Yeah.
Coming into that technology where they'll be able to prove these things.
But you have so many people who are hardliners, because what we're talking about now is, unfortunately, a direct threat to the powers that basically be. People don't want to see change.
Yeah, but that's changing. Planet Earth is destined to go into the Aquarian age, the new age. It's destiny to do that.
But it's not going to come from the top down. In other words, it's not going to come from the political leaders
Yes.
or religious leaders or et cetera. It's going to come from the people. It's going to come from the grassroots. And as each one of us accepts responsibility for whatever's happening in our lives and changes it and becomes a more positive person, and they're extending that light outwards, it will help. As I said, in your environment, all of the people around you, you'll become a light, for taking the earth world forward. As I said, it's going to start with the people, not with the traditional institutions.
No, and because you have so many hurdles. I mean, there's so many gatekeepers and goons that, like, look at energy. Let's take a look at energy.
While we own energy, real quick, can you just give us a brief summary for the audience? A brief summary on the Tesla coil, so people can, if you can just give the audience a brief summary about the Tesla coil.
Well, Nikola Tesla was an immigrant from Yugoslavia. He moved to the United States, and he worked for Edison for a while. And Edison wanted to power everything with direct current, and Tesla said, "Look, I got an even better method. I've been wanting to develop alternating current." And Edison was not open to his ideas, so Tesla eventually left, found a friend called Westinghouse, and they started to develop some of his ideas. So one of the things that he wanted to do eventually is, after he established the alternating current infrastructures, he wanted to transmit energy without wires.
Yes.
So in 1899, he set up an experimental station where he actually did that. He transmitted 12 miles away energy without wires. And he had light bulbs that you just touched to the ground and they would light up. So he found that the ground, the earth crust, was a conductor of high frequency energy. So he was the true inventor of radio, and he developed this Tesla coil, which took alternating current and stepped it up in high frequency and voltage. And then he found out you could do incredible things with it. When you connected it or coupled it to the atmosphere and the earth, they began to oscillate at a high rate, which he knew he could harness that technology and make planet Earth a better place to live.
Yes.
Now, people never took up his ideas. Not at that time. They were too advanced. They stuck with wires. And look what happened to Puerto Rico with a hurricane.
Oh.
Everybody was all dependent on wires. So Tesla had a very developed higher self, a superconsciousness that he worked on it and for many, many lifetimes, not only on this planet. So when he came here with advanced ideas, he ran into a lot of opposition, but he dealt with it in a positive way. He developed what is called the Tesla coil, which became the forerunner, the foundation of radio, television, and VCRs. It became miniaturized But Dr. Norman points out that coil could be built and used with crystal technology to focus or stabilize the oscillations, and we could put it on top of high mountains, and we could learn how to cancel out smog or Fukushima radiation or all kinds of incredible things.
Wow.
And he would have, or we would have, had free energy, all of us. But the powers that be, of course, it's like, well, how do we regulate this stuff?
Exactly.
How are we going to put a charge on it? You know, and of course, when they found out that it was going to be free, it's like, well, we don't want Rockefeller. You know, we don't want these.
And those are the people we're up against.
So Tesla and his higher self, he knew that evolution was going to have to take place. He knew planet Earth is going to have to slowly learn. He was right all along, and that's what's happening.
I mean, think about it. 1890 something. Mm-hmm. We had the technology to send energy to that little farmer out there in Iowa, to the little, miner in West Virginia.
Yeah, it's like we could have been taking portable energy with us, a long time ago.
Yes.
Yep. Now, the Martians already have this technology. They have a central power station, and all you need to put on the top of your building or house is a little split ball antenna. Mm-hmm. And you could receive and demodulate or step down the energy for your home. Now, imagine Puerto Rico, if they had the technology, or anybody in the Caribbean that gets repeatedly struck with hurricanes, all you have to do is re-erect these little antennas, and you would not have to depend on the wiring.
Right.
And so anyway, it's an obsolete technology. Planet Earth will slowly learn that we're headed in that direction.
Because
this was already used in Atlantis, so that technology of Atlantis is slowly coming back. However, like you said, there's many people closed-minded to this.
Yes.
And unless they realize a huge profit, they may not take it. But that will not be forever. There will be generations like you and me who will be talking about this advanced technology that Tesla tried to introduce, and it will be developed by people who are brave enough, who have a higher self, and they will be compassionately interested in making planet Earth a green thing again.
Yeah,
because the more people that know about it, such as, with your show here, the more people that can stand up and say, that's not what we want, and this is possible, and this is what we want. We want this form of energy that's non-polluting and that's free for everybody, to help everybody move forward, not just have all the different classes of the elites.
Right. Because
Atlantis was powered by the same thing. They had a huge tower that projected out this wireless energy. It was a high frequency, and all the buildings had a receiver, just like a radio. And once the receiver was tuned into that frequency, they could download or retrieve or receive all the free energy, pollution-free, to power their home or their building. And it saturated the atmosphere and cleansed it like an electrical storm would do.
You notice that after a storm, the grass seems a little greener. The trees have a little more vibrant.
There's an electrical charge that is a lightning storm permeates the ground and the atmosphere, and this was all done all the time.
And we could do this.
So Atlantis had beautiful, lush gardens that were incredible.
And see, think of all the stuff that you can do if we actually use this technology. Think of all the stuff you can do if you didn't have to work as long, because we all know probably a third of everybody's income goes for generating power to their homes for basic needs. So if a human didn't have to do that or need those set resources or have to work, just imagine what other stuff they could be doing. Because I look like we're wasting human potential when we can't, when the technology's already here to do stuff like this.
We have to be very patient, because that technology placed in the wrong hands could be misused, and that's what happened to Atlantis. Someone broke into the power tower generation station, and it blew up. and overnight Atlantis sank. This was 12,000 BC. Well, overnight, the whole continent sank because that technology was misused.
And you know how technology, when it's first developed, is developed for military use.
Yes,
Right.
DARPA.
So one of the most important things is for us now. I mean, it's not like we're just sitting and waiting for the new age to happen. It's that people need to develop their spiritual self, and I'm not talking about religious, but they need to advance spiritually, mentally, not to use the energy in negative purposes, and not to use their free time just to sit around and it's like, oh, now I've got a lot of time, I can go to the bar or whatever. It's like we're here to work out our own problems, but also to use our abilities for developing and helping mankind move forward. So our spiritual evolution, our spiritual knowledge, that's what's important as we're, again, not waiting for this technology to come around, but learning how we can apply it to ourselves, how we can become better, more positive, selfless people. And as we do that, we're helping to bring about this new Aquarian age that David mentioned.
Now, Nikola Tesla and Albert Einstein were two examples of positively oriented individuals who were scientists.
Yeah.
And they had they had such a huge impact on everybody's life. I mean, you could be in Timbuktu, you could be in Hong Kong, or you could be right here in St. Louis, Missouri, and they definitely had an impact on our lives. But like they were saying, unfortunately, we have groups like DARPA, we have other defense contractors. When they were mentioning about the technology, the first thing I thought about, oh, now great, we can actually have phase weaponry. Just plug something into the ground, you can shoot a laser at somebody and vaporize them. Because instead of using this, like I've said in our afternoon discussion, instead of building oil tankers to push oil and crude fossil fuels all over the planet, how come we can make those ships to push fresh water all over the planet? How come we can't have airdrops instead of dropping down bombs and troops? How come we can't drop down, radios and devices and things to help people, hammers and nails, so they can build their society up? Because we all know at the end of the day, the people running the country, the world, now do not want people to be independent or without being underneath their yoke of governance.
But as we each work out our own problems and resistance and karma, negativity from the past, we become the clearer channel to bring forth this inspiration and these ideas and new technology, each one of us, so we don't have to depend on other people.
Right.
Oh, by the way, Einstein lived the life of Archimedes, and Frederick Jacobi, who was a philosopher, a German philosopher.
What year did he
live?
live?
The life of Archimedes, you can see what an incredible genius he was in Greece.
And one of the things about what David's saying is, when you have someone that is in child prodigy, infant prodigy, whatever, it's not that God blessed that person and said, okay, well, you're going to have all these abilities. It's that they have developed these abilities over many, many lifetimes. So if you have great musical abilities, and your child, you see a lot of these child stars, or it's like, God, they've got such an incredible voice, or, look at that little boy, he's only 4 years old and he can play the piano, like amazing. It's because, again, that they have developed that. So, like if Beethoven reincarnated, of course he brings all of that experience with him from, that he had when he quote-unquote died. So he went to school on the inner, he came back, had another physical body. Well, at a very, very young age, he's going to be a brilliant composer or pianist. That's why Mozart could do what he did.
So are people in a way kind of typecast?
Accumulated in their field.
I like to tell people, because we give Tesla lectures just about every year. Our next one is going to be in March in New York, the New Yorker Hotel at the New Life Expo. I like to tell people, rather than focus on all the negative government, the secret government, this and that, and all the things we can find to complain about, why waste your time? Why
Yeah.
take the opportunity to build up your own higher self, to build up your own positive thinking, so you can help influence people to build this great, beautiful technology that's going to come.
But I think there lies a problem, like Dimebag said. If you're too busy working 50, 60 hours a day, and if you have a family, the other few hours a day left, you want to kiss your old lady and talk to your children, you don't have time to not necessarily meditate, maybe that's the wrong word, but to actually ponder on the idiosyncrasies of life and really discover what this thing's all about, because you're so busy living, dare I say, the rat race.
You're right. You're right. It is a challenge, but it can be done. Sometimes it just takes 10 minutes or a half an hour to read some book, like, for example, The True Life of Mars. That, just a little bit of time, it will regenerate, it will grow.
And when you put, one foot forward, when you really have the intention that this is what I want to do, you would be so amazed. The infinite opens doorways to help you in that direction.
Absolutely.
So maybe even, you're riding in the subway to work or something, you got a half-hour ride here, and you put on some headphones and you listen to, we have all of our books, or almost all of them, are on electronic format. You can listen on your iPod or iPhone or whatever. So where there's a will, there's a way.
Yes. Yes, that is true.
As you progress and you work out this things that's holding you in a job, menial job that's, whatever, 9 to 5 or more, other doors will open to better jobs where you don't have to work your
and that's because of the energy you're projecting, the positive turn on your own psyche, you're projecting it out, and people who might have been apprehensive to you will now be gravitated towards you.
Yep. It just takes thinking. You don't have to talk to anybody. It's just your thoughts.
Yes.
They can transmit light years.
I'll give you a personal example. I was in a field that I really didn't like at all. When I first came into Unarius, I was a rep, and I didn't like the job, but I couldn't get what I wanted to do down here. Well, I had a lot of working out of karma to do. I had to learn a lot about myself and work it out. But once I did, the doors opened to a field that I when we were talking earlier before the show, I love what I do now.
Yes.
And but it wouldn't have happened if I hadn't have been open and I hadn't been constantly working on making myself better. But doors open that I didn't even know existed. I thought, I'm going to have to go back to school. I'm going to have to take all of these classes. I don't have time. I don't have the money to go back to university. I mean, it's so expensive. So how am I going to get into this field of music therapy that I want, But as I said, I put what was important first. I said, it's more important that I do my studies with Unarius, and whatever is meant to unfold will come to me. If I work on myself, what I need for my positive progressive evolution will come to me. And it did. I mean, I've proved it over and over again.
Now, was that a sacrifice? Did you consider the time taking classes at the academy and everything a sacrifice, or was it?
No, by no means. I mean, it has literally saved my life so many times. I could tell you where, I was about to open in LA. I was when I was a rep, I was opening my door and something told me to not to get out. A couple seconds later, a bus came by. It literally took off my door.
Wow.
It would have smashed me. But I got that
precognition.
Like that. As I said, I wouldn't be here today. There's so many different instances where physically I would have been killed. It saved my life. It's given me what I loved, as we talked about earlier. It has these scientific principles that you can apply in everyday life. I've looked into so many different religions and philosophies. I was a perpetual student at school. I got several degrees, but nothing gave me the information that I learned in Unarius. It was something practical, and that's what I was looking for, something that I can apply in my everyday life to resolve all kinds of problems. It makes sense. It's intelligent. And if I don't get the results I want, I can go back to square one and I can go, okay, what did I not understand? And once I understand it, then it doesn't matter if the problem is physical, mental, spiritual relationships work. I've solved, all of the students here have solved so many problems. They can all give you, countless stories of how they have applied. And how could you consider that a sacrifice? It's like, oh my God, this is my life. It has changed me so completely from who I was. And I love, the difference. As I said, I have a job that I love. Every morning, it's like, oh my God, I get to go to work and do what I love to do. Well, that wasn't always the case. I mean, for 13 years, I had a job I really didn't like.
Oh gosh!
So we can.
I'm going to add that you're never alone in your endeavor to be a more spiritual, positive person. You're never alone. You're a child of the infinite, and you have incredible help by advanced spiritual agencies. Now, this is what we have all realized by studying Unarius. The textbooks, the books tunes you in to this higher spiritual dimensions or frequency. And people have incredible stories. So you're never endeavoring to solve and become a better person, to make planet Earth a better place. You never work alone. You have a lot of helpers on the other side.
Well, it sounds like Unarius has been good to you guys.
Yeah, and the only reason why I asked about the sacrifice is because all too often when you look at so many different philosophies and religion, that is one of the cornerstones of their philosophy. You have to sacrifice your pleasure. You have to sacrifice your time. You have to sacrifice whatever to get that reward at the end. And with you guys, you don't hear that.
People come in, it's like, well, what do I have to give up?
Yes.
And they say, well, you don't have to give up anything. But as you become more intelligent, as you understand how energy functions, as you resolve your own problems, it's like those desires just kind of fade away.
Yes.
It's just like, well, why would I want to do that when it hurts my body, when it holds me back, or when it causes problems in work or relationships or something? Why would I want to do that? And it's just like you just don't have the desire anymore. It's not that anybody tells you, well, you can't do this. Nobody told us we couldn't do things.
You just choose not to. That's where you truly have freedom of choice, is when you're intelligent.
Yeah, of course. And in fact, a lot of students claim, they come in here for the first time and it's like, well, what do I have to do to have to become a member? It's like, look, if you like it, if it makes sense, if you say, wow, that's heavy, whatever, fine. If it doesn't make any sense to you, that's fine too.
May I add that Earth people as a whole need to learn the difference between positive thinking and negative thinking.
Yes.
Right.
Negative thinking is full of complaining about the government, the governor, this, and the supervisor, the job, complaining, finding fault with this, finding fault with that person. Now, a really good book to start with, if anybody wants to, is The Power of Positive Thinking.
Who's the author?
And it will start the person on a journey, if they were committed to it, to learning how to not think so negatively about everything.
Can you get the people the author of that book? I don't mean to cut you off. Can you give us the author of that book?
I don't remember the author.
Yeah, it's not a Unarius book.
No. Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
It's been around for like the 1960s or something.
The Power of Positive Thinking.
The Power of Positive Thinking. And it's a very good beginning of where do I start?
Yes. Yes, that's the question.
People have got to learn the difference between the two. So Jesus was trying to teach people the very same thing. He said, look, when somebody treats you crappy, negatively, don't return the energy back to them.
Right.
Point your consciousness somewhere else. Don't get back into the mode of revenge, but
turn the other cheek
to something more positive, and don't give in to the power of revenge.
I think another quote out there right now is, an eye for an eye makes everybody blind.
Or, Jesus was trying to teach people, do not live by that principle, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. He was trying to tell people to turn the other cheek, meaning find a positive way to deal with this situation.
But why do you think it's in our nature as human beings to constantly gravitate almost naturally to negativity?
That's a good point. Okay, so like a battery has what? Two terminals. One is a plus and one is a minus.
Right.
You're not going to live life or power a car without one of them. You got to have both. So we have a lower self, we have a higher self. But throughout all the civilizations, or Rome or Greece or Egypt, mainly people have learned to enhance the negative. And complain, like I said, negative thinking only enhances the negative terminal or energy. So people build up a very powerful lower self. But they also can be taught. They also have another self, a positive self. We call it the superconsciousness. Jesus called it the Christ self that everybody has. It's a consciousness, a positive way of thinking and dealing with things. And people over the centuries have not had this training, this opportunity to learn these positive principles. So therefore, without the positive, what? They only get, they're just reattuned back to their negative lives.
Yes.
Again, where they dealt with things in a very ignorant way.
So that's why when most people, when you got a positive and a negative energy, most people will gravitate towards that negative energy instead of that positive energy.
They can. It all depends on their past life evolution that they've gone through. If they grew up in the Roman Empire, do you think the Roman emperors were kind and compassionate?
Oh no.
Well, Caesar was.
No, they were brutal. They were tyrants, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you were living in a country and you were completely taken over by a Roman government, the troops would roll in, the centurions, and they would plunge and rape, and they would, take whatever they wanted to, and, take your farm or whatever your livelihood is. They could do anything they wanted to. So people who were adversely affected by that, you could call that a psychic shock if you want. Now in their future lives, they have that negative energy in their subconscious. They don't know how to deal with it.
Now, would that be true?
Past life therapy, so they repeat the same situations. They find fault with Trump or Obama or this government or this or that. They sometimes, you've seen this, they have a tendency to think the world is after them or against them. And they're just reliving many negative past lives.
There's another principle also, though, in taking responsibility. It's an ego deflation to think, well, I caused the problems that I have in my lifetime now. It's much easier to point the finger at other people and say, you know what, if it wasn't for Trump, if it wasn't for my boss, if it wasn't for, so-and-so, my life would certainly be better. I wouldn't have so many problems, right?
Right.
And so one of the things that's really difficult in Unarius is taking personal responsibility and not pointing the finger at everybody else for your problems and saying, you know what, all of the actions that I did, not only in this lifetime but in other lifetimes, created what I have today. But
how you reacted to them.
But what I'm doing in the present is going to create my future. So if I want a better future, then I need to change myself. I can't change anybody else, but I can change myself. So that puts the power back in your hand. Where if you're blaming somebody else and you can't change that other person, you can't evict Trump right now. It's just like, well, then you feel powerless.
You're a victim.
The hard thing is taking personal responsibility because it's an ego deflation.
And we've had over the centuries spiritual teachers who've tried to teach these principles. Confucius, Lao Tzu, Buddha, Tesla, Jesus. I mean, the list goes on and on about all the positive teachers that we've had over the years. And quite often they run into incredible opposition.
Oh, yes.
Or death.
Or death.
By our hands, because it's like we don't want to be told that we're negative.
How dare you tell me I'm negative?
That battery. You want to keep our consciousness attuned to the negative. It's easy to do in this dimension.
Now, is there, speaking of past lives, like if you was a Roman and like you in your example and you had children, will you be reincarnated through your children, or could you become a Chinese person, or could you become a black person? Could you become a white? How does that all work?
Well, quite often you will reincarnate together, your family. So who might be your cousin in this life might be your wife in a future life. Or you might come back as a Chinaman in a future life, but you tend to stay in the same race. You tend to evolve. The races have a unique evolutionary pattern.
Mm-hmm.
And you tend to incarnate with people that you have karma with that you need to work out.
Exactly. Now, my father and I, we didn't get along very well. My mother, she had a very sweet heart. She had a great heart. We got along great. But my father, I did not like him. I swore that when I grew up, I would never be anything like my father. Now, How many times have you heard that?
I hear that all the time.
It turns out that I was attracted back to my father because of the karma between us. In a previous life, I think it was Rome, something like that, I subjected him to, negative situations.
Like torture?
I had him captured and made him live in a very negative environment. So, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, once you realize that you were attracted back to the people sometimes to work out karma, and you deal with it properly, and you cancel that energy out, guess what? You never have to come back to that situation again.
So is that like...
And the proof of whether, because people go, well, how do you know? That sounds like a, imagination or whatever. How do you know? Well, when the situation changes, you've tried all kinds of other things and nothing works. The relationship is still bad, and all of a sudden that relationship becomes positive. Well, then you know what you've done works, and the intelligence.
So could it be like why people, people that's been like enslaved and stuff? Could it be because of some karma or something they did in a past life for us, like people that have been enslaved and people that have enslaved people?
It's possible, very, very possible.
Okay.
Because in other words, like if you were a slave master in the past, how do you get to experience that? Well, first of all, that energy comes back to you, and we talked about that before. Whatever energy you put out comes back to you. So while you're enslaving another person, that energy is coming back to you. So you may come back as a slave in a future life so that you experience that. You have the other side of the waveform, so that you don't do that again in a future lifetime, right?
Right.
Now, if you were a slave in a previous and you were mistreated, you quite often would come back in a future lifetime with that resentment.
Yeah.
And you would just regenerate it, and it would just build. And some people, they fly off the handle and they buy a gun and they start shooting people and killing a bunch of people. And
that's not the answer.
I have no idea the dynamics of what's going on.
Now, is it a way you can? Now, is it a way you can break that cycle?
Neutralize that energy.
There are ways. When our psychologists understand what you and I are talking about, they'll have more knowledge. They'll be able to handle this situation better.
Because I think that could really help civilization.
Too, because someone can tell you something, and it's like, well, okay, maybe, but I don't know. It sounds kind of far out there. But when you have that psychic experience, the deja vu, or you see yourself in that past lifetime, and it's real to you, then it's not like someone telling you. It's a totally different experience. It becomes, something that you can work with.
So let's go back to my example of a shooter. Now, they're under a psychological illusion, thinking the enemy is where?
Outside.
Out there. And the enemy is really within. It's like Lani was saying, you have to understand the dynamics of what your mind is going through. Is it in a negative state where you're critical of everything that's not nailed down, and you have no ability to think in a positive way? I mean, you have to understand the dynamics of this. Some people are schizophrenic.
Yes.
And they have both sides, and their mind is divided. So there needs to be evolved, along with this great Tesla technology, there needs to be an understanding and a compassion with people who are reliving psychic shock again and again over many lifetimes.
It's like
That's
PSPD.
why we need a new age. We need new age therapists to help people through these things.
Yeah, because the old way's just not working, David.
No.
It's not working at all.
The old way is to throw them in a dungeon and then jail give them plenty of meds, and that's do anything to resolve the issue.
No, because you're going to die and come back.
Put them in a psychiatric ward or something, and they're comfortable and they're warm. It's not like the past where they were shackled.
Yeah.
It's still almost like a prison. There's no spiritual growth.
Now, people who are listening to this, we need young people to go into these careers, become psychologists, become thinkers that think in this way to make planet Earth a better place to live.
So put down your football and basketball, kids. Put down your video games and pick up a book.
I'm saying that like I said, it's an understanding of how to think positively versus thinking negatively. If you want to maintain a negative way of thinking, you'll just develop more karma. You're just going to repeat and regenerate the karma you already have. So if you want to start turning it around, you start thinking and positive. What did I do in my previous lives that brought this situation about?
The cool thing is, because you go, well, I just don't have any money, and the co-founders and all of the spiritual teachers want this information to be available. And I'll tell you, as I mentioned before, I was a perpetual student and got various upper degrees, but I have never found any information that compares with it. And you can buy, like for the price of a couple cups of coffee at Starbucks, you can buy a book. And
yeah,
right.
Expand your mind way more than any class you could take at any university in the world.
I tell my kids when they say they bored or ain't got nothing to do, I tell them books take you places on days you're unable to go anywhere.
And then if they don't want to read books because the generation coming up, they don't read books anymore. But you can, as I said, you can get an electronic version of the book. So
books on tape.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can CD or DVDs or whatever, or MP3, MP4. So they just put it on their iPod, and as they're going someplace, they put on their headphones or whatever, and they can listen that way.
Yeah.
Will you give your number out again, just so that people can reach you guys?
Yes, it's 619, area code 619-444-7062. So you can call that. There's an 800 number as well.
You can
go look it up.
But I believe that you need to call after 10:30 California time.
But you can go online as to the Unarius website. There's a ton of information there. There's lots of links to other websites of ours on past life therapy, on Tesla technology. There's a YouTube channel, Unarius 33. A lot of our where you can see like pieces of our videos, because we have over 100 videos that we air on public access around the country.
Wow.
And in fact, you could have it air in your own area too if you have a public access station. But we also have programs that are archived. For example, LA 36 archived some of our best shows, and you can go on there for free, and you can watch the whole video. So there's so many different ways that don't cost a lot of money or are free that you can find out about this information. And then when you're ready for a book, or as I said, you can get it electronically or in so many different formats. So it's just making that connection, and when you live.
Now is it? Now is this? I don't mean to cut you off. Now is this some way to find out what you did in your past life? I'm just intrigued with this past life because I just see.
Yeah, and that's what's so great about Unarius. Instead of depending on a psychiatrist or a doctor or even another clairvoyant psychic to know what you did in your past lives, the whole point of Unarius is teaching each student to be able to develop their own clairvoyance and psychic abilities, to see their own past lives, because it's so much more meaningful when you see it for yourself than when you have somebody else tell you.
Right, because I see my kid, it's basically like if you put an instrument in front of this child, she'll play it. No, pretty much no matter what kind of instrument you put in front of this kid, she teaches herself how to play it, and she's really good and effective at this.
She's been a musician in past lifetimes, so she comes in with that ability. And
I mean, I mean, it's
surprising. It's not. As I said, it's not like God blessed her or that she's, special. I mean, it's it's that each one of us, or that it's not understandable. It is. I mean, there's information, there's facts. It makes sense if you've developed this. Once you understand the continuity of life, that you've developed that ability over many lifetimes, and so she can do it coming in at a very young age.
I'm going to ask you a question. So this is on my mind right now. It just hit me. But let's just say that in past life I was Adolf Hitler. If I was to come back, would I basically build another fascist state and try to continue my work, or would I?
No, you'd probably be a victim of it.
Oh shit!
Well,
Never thought about that.
People, and this brings up another great point. People will say, "Well, why was my child born deformed? He didn't do anything, or he's got this incurable disease, or and they go on and on. This poor innocent child." It's because they don't understand the continuity of past lives. I mean, when Hitler comes back, you would hope. I shouldn't say that. But all of the energy that he put out, he was receiving back. So when he's incarnated again, he's going to feel all of that energy. So he may be a totally deformed person.
There's no way around that.
Have all kinds of diseases, or because he's going to. It's not like God is up there saying, "Well, you're going to." It's just that energy that he put out came back to him, and he's going to feel the effects of it sooner or later.
By the way, Hitler was Genghis Khan in a previous life.
Oh boy!
I mean, but is there any way to get around that punishment? Is there any way to?
It's not a punishment. It's understanding that that energy has an effect. As I said, even if you don't act on something, that when you have a thought, that thought is energy, and it's going out, and it's affecting other people, and it's affecting you at the same time. So we need to be gatekeepers of our own thoughts.
Wow.
And
Thought
if
police.
Thought, if you don't want the negativities to reoccur in your own life, and you want to make a better world, then you need to do something about that negative thought and change it in the moment. We have a choice moment to moment with each thought, what we're going to do with that. Are we going to act on it? Are we going to expand it and amplify it? Or are we going to stop that negative thought in its tracks and amplify a positive thought instead to help the world and mankind move forward?
Yeah.
Now, may I give the 800 number?
Yeah, get an 800 number.
Yes.
Sorry, we found it, but anyway, should have had it right in front of us. 800-475-7062. 1-800-475-7062.
It's just we don't call it ourselves.
475-7062.
Yeah, that would be great for you since you're out of state.
Yes.
People call that number.
Yes.
And
get this
information.
Get out of this drudgery.
Now, the hours here that someone would physically pick up the phone are from 10 in the morning until 4, or is it 10:30 to 4, and from Tuesday to Friday, and then Saturday from 12 to 4. So they can always leave a message, and someone can call them back. But if they want to reach someone live, it would be California time between those hours.
Now, how are you guys doing with the fires out there? Is there fires near you at all, or did they finally die down?
No,
or?
they're all under control.
Okay.
Oh, cool.
Good.
So how are we doing so far?
Oh,
excellent.
Good.
I mean, the information that you're sharing with us is dare I use this term, mind blowing.
I'm just curious about what I'm curious about what I did in my past life
to deserve
to make me be going through.
An incentive to get into some of the studies.
Don't give up on that. Follow that.
Because
Deja vu, all of these intuitive things are things from your higher self. Those are the things we should amplify and research more.
Now, do you ever see a point in time where humanity is finally one, where we are not only brothers amongst ourselves, then we can finally be brothers and sisters amongst the others out there in the universe?
That will come maybe 1,000 years from now, when we reach the top of the Aquarian age.
And then as we do, as the people who don't want to follow that direction of positivity for mankind, they just won't incarnate on this earth, because the earth itself, even on a molecular level, is moving forward in evolution, its own evolution.
See, I feel...
mentioned something about molecules and DNA. May I? Your DNA has nothing to do with your creativity or what you were in a previous life. That only controls the color of your eyes, the shape of your ears, your physical. And science today has it all messed up. They can't go beyond the physical.
Right.
So they think that DNA is the key to all of these issues, and it's not. It's the psychic body, the spiritual body that is eternal, that affects us life after life, and life on the inner worlds. That is the true, information. It has nothing to do with DNA. Now, DNA can be modified or maligned or misaligned due to karma, but that is controlled by the psychic body, the psychic anatomy. Now, we're talking about something similar with brain cells. Okay, a lot of scientists think that your life, your consciousness is simply neurons firing, and that's it. When you die, that's it. You don't exist. But the brains are receivers. They're receiving high-frequency energies or waveforms from the fourth dimension, or your psychic body, your energy body. And the layers of the cortex simply receive and retransmit that information. Part of the energy waveforms go into your nerve pulses and make your life, a livable human being.
Yes.
With all of its physical characteristics and your ability. But the climate in your psychic body can modify that. So you see scientists, when they come to the idea where one day they'll see this on a screen, maybe one of the extraterrestrials will land one day and show us all this beautiful technology, then they'll realize that the thinking, the consciousness, our mind is not the brain cells.
Our minds are not the brain cells.
Giving you too much information here.
No. We are. I am actually. I have a crazy audio situation, but I am listening. I am observing. I am just soaking it all up because, I'm very interested in the various topics that we're discussing tonight. I'm very much interested in healing some of the wounds of humanity. I'm very much interested in us fulfilling, as I say, our galactic, our universal destiny of going out to outer space and showing that Earth is more than some backwater world full of savages, but it's a world that is full of potential. It's full of hope. Hope is a very important thing for not just mankind, but all sentient life throughout the universe. Because, as you guys so eloquently put it tonight, life is a very, very delicate thing, especially on the energy level. At any point in time, a gamma ray burst could be headed our way to wipe our civilization out yet again. Or else we could have a mega tsunami, a mega earthquake, a pandemic, some lower level space advanced tech race comes and basically subjugate us all. So we have all these different scenarios. So what's restraining this? What's restraining this? It's our collective energy. That's always has been.
Well, we are, planet Earth is under the protectorate of an advanced spiritual organization on the higher spiritual worlds. We call them the Unarius brothers of light, or sisters of light, and they're angels, so to speak.
Okay.
So they have our destiny under, guidance. They will not interfere, but they will provide, like Unarius, an outlet of knowledge so that people can start with themselves first, improve yourself, and then you can be a positive help to the world you want to see to make a better place. So, for one thing, Dr. Norman, who was a channel for these great spiritual forces, he and the spiritual forces working through him, they influenced the Russians to turn back during the Cuban Missile Crisis with Kennedy. They influenced psychically the Russians to turn around and not start World War III. There have been many instances where a nuclear intercontinental ballistic missile has been launched, and it's been purposely made to fail. That is on record. If you look into UFO archives, they have that documented. This
Any place you can send us to?
Disclosure project.
Any place,
So-
any website we can go to research that information you just said?
You can look up, what is it, Stephen Greer?
Yeah,
has,
and disclosure.
Disclosure. I think his website is CSETI. Look for search for extraterrestrial intelligence.org. There's tons of information out there that will one day be brought to the light, to the day of light. Now, recently, the UK and the United States declassified UFO research, and they're doing this. This is not in 2017. There was a lot of
Activity
documents that were declassified for the public. This has been going on, a steady, positive movement. So you have people like the leader of North Korea, who's kind of, you might call it heading the negative forces, or you could call it that. And there's also a very positive movement going on here on planet Earth. It's a matter of what you want to pay attention to. So there's lots of documented evidence where UFOs, or space brothers as we call them, people who've come from planets who have already evolved past the stage we're in now. They've already undergone their Aquarian age. They converted from a very primitive, warlike, hostile,
World like ours,
into one of, like you're talking about, peace and harmony, where they now develop that travel to go out to other worlds, and they're able to help other planets. They cannot land here yet, but they can help us out in subtle ways. They usually keep their visitations in the early hours of the morning so they're not to draw a lot of attention to themselves. There's incredible documentation about angels who have interceded in people accidents and saved them from death. There's incredible documentations about all kinds of positive help that we're getting, and we're getting it on a bigger level. It's just that you have to be patient with planet Earth. It's going to take an evolution of time because of the unique karma we have here in our world.
And people have said, well, if they're so advanced, why don't they come here and straighten us out, or
Yes.
save us, or whatever? But it's kind of like the Star Trek Prime Directive. You don't interfere with lower states of evolution, and we really are, kind of the bottom of the barrel, the garbage can of the universe. We just haven't evolved that much. You can see that if you read the paper, you look around, you watch the news.
Right.
But they can, if you are open. You have an open mind. You've made yourself more of a positive, receptive state. You can bring in some of this information, and you can spread that, just like Stephen Greer is doing, just like you're doing right now, just like we're doing, and you're impacting the world in a positive way, rather than, criticizing or going out and hurting,
Yes.
whoever you think is the enemy. You're doing it in a positive, you're amplifying the positive.
Now, I want to talk a little bit about flying saucers, if I may.
Go ahead.
When the United States started experimenting with nuclear bombs, detonating all kinds of nuclear...
Releasing Scrontium-90.
With fission and fusion. This energy does not remain local to planet Earth. Because of fourth dimensional physics, it's dispersed throughout the universe. And many planets had technology to pick this up, and it alerted them that their brothers and sisters on planet Earth were starting to misuse things they've seen misused before. So they started sending, in 1945, or around that time, 42, 43, 44, they started sending ships here to investigate what the heck this disturbance was. And so they found out that we were playing with fourth dimensional physics by trying to rip apart the uranium atom and make, some kind of bomb out of it. And that's where they did try to, land occasionally, talk to people. And for the main thing, they're trying to influence through intuition, through telepathy.
So is there a danger?
Channels to not go down that road.
So
Is there a danger right now with them fooling around over there in CERN with their Large Hadron Collider?
It could be.
Because I've heard stories that they're trying to bring entities in from the fourth dimension, like I just to keep it easy for people to understand, like demons or negative spirits, or create micro black holes that would wreak havoc. But to your guys' research, that's not necessarily true, or
I don't know. What I've read those reports. I can't say yay or nay. There's a lot of very twisted, false stories out there, purposely designed to throw people off. I don't know, but there's no need to experiment with that Large Hadron Accelerator in the way they're doing to divine the secrets of the universe. Dr. Norman, through Unarius, explains a lot of this.
Now, do you think like some of the spaceships that came? Do you think some of them were like took by U.S. military or anything like that? Were all
back engineering it?
Yeah, just you know how.
Yeah.
You
it's
think
possible? It's very possible that we have caused them to crash. We have tried and been successful on a small scale to reverse engineer them, and we have experimented locally with UFOs to go out to the our solar system. It's very possible.
Because I always
believe it's true, but I believe that they will be limited as to how far they could go and what they could do by the spiritual forces that are also here with us, working with us.
Because I always tell people, you know, like if this other life forms out there flying around in spaceships and stuff, to just fly on past this little blue planet.
Yeah, because their spaceship will be on blocks in a hangar. They'll be cut up to see what makes them tick.
Exactly.
Right. You're right. Some of them pass us by, and they won't.
I know I would.
Stay here.
I would too.
You're right. Absolutely.
They're just too primitive, too savage.
Who are braver, who are more compassionate, and they realize how each planet is connected to every other planet in the universe. We're all connected. We're all part of a universal oneness.
Right.
And so if they can help avert planet Earth from a nuclear exchange or catastrophe, they will try to do their best without direct interference.
Now,
I'll give you an example. There's many people who are extraterrestrials who did reincarnate into planet Earth, and they went out to these military facilities and they chained their bodies to the fences to protest nuclear proliferation. Those are some of the more positive extraterrestrials who incarnated here instead of landing here in a spaceship. If you land here in a spaceship, you take your life in your own hands because you know they'll try to take you and dissect you and try to...
I'll be saying that.
Yes.
So the best way to do it is to incarnate here and to be a positive thinker.
Right.
Now, all those negative experiments with the Hadron, who knows? I mean, you can read reports and you can determine what you want. I've never been there. I've never been an eyewitness. I've heard eyewitness accounts. I mean, I've read eyewitness accounts.
Could you share one eyewitness account you heard?
The main thing is, in my opinion, is to steer opinions, gossip, or whatever you call it, to a positive direction.
Can you give us one of those eyewitnesses accounts? Is that what he said?
Yeah.
About the Hadron?
Yes.
The collider?
Yes.
It was an experiment with one of the scientists who was maintaining the controls, and he just described a weird event where I think his cohorts, his coworkers, dematerialized or something like that. I can't remember the details.
They disappeared.
Wow.
Sort of like the Philadelphia experiment back in the 1940s.
Well, yeah, that's very similar. Very similar.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I mean, this world is full.
With people who are not spiritually motivated, and we haven't developed a world where we can live in peace and harmony, you bring that kind of advanced technology into people's hands, it's like giving knives to little babies, isn't it?
Yes.
You take a risk. So Nikola Tesla held back some of his ideas. He knew they were for future generations to develop. They weren't for the present.
That sucks too.
And you gotta realize he lived in a day and age where the majority of people were living in straight
That really
squalor.
sucks because the ideas that Tesla had, could greatly benefit a lot of people right now.
Yeah.
Could use that.
If you're right, if they were developed by positively oriented people, and there are those people here. They are people who are taking up this positive technology and trying to develop it.
But they always get usurped.
Want to make weapons out of it.
Yeah.
Yes, by
Have
DARPA.
succeeded to some small extent.
Yeah, and it's really sad. Like I look at it as like just as it should be like a humanitarian effort,
A human right issue.
Yeah, because I just look at it like we have all this technology, and because a few people,
Bear aspirin, Big Pharma,
would probably do something, destructive with it, the masses suffer because we can't use the technology that could make everybody's life a little bit better.
Right. And that's the dynamics that one has to come to grips with by studying Unarius. The same thing, when Julius Caesar was a brutal dictator, the people around him had to make a decision. Would they just turn their backs and let Caesar do stuff, or did they try to do something about it?
They killed him.
The dilemma that those people were in. So, in Rome and Russia or China, people have to understand there is a continuity of life. This is not just one effect in one lifetime. This is a continuity of relivings from previous lifetimes where people had to deal with the same divisive issues. They're not easy to deal with, but they can be done. But the best thing is what Lani said, is to start with yourself. Make yourself a better person. And
right.
Through energy regeneration, through different principles of energy propagation, you will help make this planet a better world.
Yeah.
As was said, I think with Gandhi, be the change you want to see in the world, rather than wait for other people to do it.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, look, Gandhi had to face a brutal British leadership who wanted to make the Indian people into people who just were slaves and to make salt for the British Empire. The Indians, led by Gandhi, had to deal with that. And he picked the best method of dealing with it, which was non-violence.
Like Martin Luther King, yeah.
Right.
Martin Luther King. That was the best way to influence people, is do not take up arms and go into a violence mode. Because once you go into a violence mode,
everything else out the window.
Same lower level, consciousness-wise, that you're the enemy, that you
right.
identify as the enemy. You're now on their level.
Yeah.
But we always idolize the victor of the conflict. We never talk about the civilizations that lose.
That's the primitive nature that we have lived with.
And so what do you think of some, besides positive thought? And I know it all starts with thought. But what do you think we can do to get more people to realize, just by starting to think more positive thoughts, things around them will start turning out in a more positive direction? Because some people want that instant
gratification,
result. They don't want to wait 2 years or 3 years. They want it now.
You can call Rush Limbaugh and be a guest and our other talk show host and just say, look, there's another way of thinking about being so critical about the Democrats versus the Republicans, or whatever it is. There's another positive way of dealing or thinking about the issue. It doesn't mean you can go to the House of Congress and affect change. But look, one little pebble dropped into the a body of water will ripple out.
Mm-hmm.
It will make ripples of energy in ways you do not understand.
Right.
And that's the thing too. Sometimes when we're thinking with our conscious mind, well, I need to do this. It might, in the bigger picture, it might not be the right thing to do. So the thing is, as you work on yourself and you clear that consciousness so that you have a channel to the masters, I mean, they can see the bigger plan and they can inspire you with the best next step to take.
Yep. Just be open.
Yeah.
Now, what is the bigger
Be-
plan for the
have your
universe?
mind to be open to being guided by your higher self and the spiritual brothers who are helping.
And when you're really positive, people are attracted to you and they want to know, well, what are you doing? How come you're having such a great
Yes.
life? How come you don't have so many problems like I do anymore? I know you used to, you know, and they're going to ask questions and they're going to want to know how you've been able to resolve your problems. So as you do it, you become that light. You become that inspiration for other people.
The catalyst
Yeah.
of change.
Yeah, I notice like when I'm like, you know, when I think positive thoughts and I'm in good spirits and good moods and stuff, I don't feel tired. You know,
Right.
I feel like I have just an absorbent amount of energy to where like when I've had like a bad day or, you know, stuff ain't going right, you know, I feel extra tired. So.
Yep.
Well, you can be recharged again. You know, what a lot of students will say is, you know, as you know, they're really tired at the end of the day, but as they, you know, listen or they read or whatever, they get spiritually recharged.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Yeah, it's just like sleep. When you're in REM
Right.
sleep, your actually
Questions
body
are
repairs.
Excellent. Keep them coming.
Oh, thank you. I'm just the whole. I know we didn't touched over this a lot, but just the whole past life. I'm just like
Fixated.
like my mind is like I'm thinking like, man, wonder. I just want to know what did I do? You know, who were I? You
You'll
know,
have to follow that curiosity. You'll
and
have to follow it. You'll have to figure out how, you know, you'll have to be led to find that information out. If you become enrolled in the Unarius, you'll be going down the road where you can find that information out
Yeah.
by people who can read the Akashic. And then, eventually, you can learn to read it yourself.
And
And people don't have to become members or something. A lot of people have that misconception. You can just buy one book and you can study it on your own. Now, most people find, you know, after they've studied a while on their own, that they want to be around other students because you learn from other students. It's like
Right.
how they've resolved their problems. It's like, oh, okay, I can relate to that. That's how you resolve your problems. We call it a testimonial. But you can read about other students' realizations in books. There's books that the students talk about what they've gone through, what they've realized, and that's helpful too as far as past civilizations. Because like, well, where else can you find that kind of information? You certainly can't find it in traditional schools.
University.
Yeah.
no,
Now, let me give you a trick that we use. One of the tools, I mean, not a trick, but we keep a journal, and we write in it often. So if we're going through a negative train of thinking, thoughts, they're just pummeling our consciousness about whatever situation. Write them down. Don't edit them. Write them in your journal. And you'll see that you will become more objective with the situation.
really,
The more subjective you are with a situation, the more critical people tend to be. The more they don't understand it. So you have a higher self, a super consciousness. This will help direct a beam of energy from your higher self. If you get into this habit of keeping a journal and writing down, and you will see that you will write down things that you're inspired with at the moment, jewels of wisdom that you'll write and go, aha, I'm trying to learn this lesson. I'm trying to learn this lesson. Oh, this is what I didn't see. So it's a big, big help with keeping a journal.
I've actually heard that before.
As a Unarius student, because when you become a Unarius student, you become the charge of these spiritual teachers and masters. And so when you write this out, you get it out of yourself where you can be more objective with it and ask the questions, you know, like, why am I going through this, you know, hard time? Why do I have this particular disease or whatever? And you'll get answers. They will provide you with answers. If you can't get them yourself, just have with that open mind, you know,
Right.
all of a sudden you'll wake up and it's like, oh, okay, now I get it. Now I know why. Now I see the connection.
yeah,
So before we go to bed sometimes, we ask our higher self or the brothers, okay, what am I going through this for? What am I trying to learn? What's the solution? And a lot of times people wake up the next morning, me especially when I take a shower or something, answers will just drop in.
right.
This is been documented on National Public Radio and NPR. And
Yeah.
it's been happening, and it's going to happen more and more. You'll see, if you want to, if you're tuned into that, you'll see more and more people are waking up.
Yeah, because I've actually like be thinking about stuff, and I'm asking myself why is such and such happening. Then like like a couple of weeks later, something I just out of the blue, I could just doing no particular thing, an answer pops up like boom.
Yep.
This is why that
That's
okay.
your higher self. That's
Yeah.
your superconscious.
Yeah, and
giving you the answer.
one of the principles too is when you're consciously, trying to figure out the answer. It's kind of like when your keys are lost and you're trying to think about, I can't think of it. Looking there,
Yeah.
you're screwing here and there. But then when you're not thinking about it, it drops in. Oh yeah, that was the last place I left, and you walk right to it, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So when you're trying hard to consciously figure it out, it actually sets up an energy block.
Yeah, your
I
mind
see.
generates static energy.
Yeah.
So when you're open, you just kind of put the question out there to the universe, as David was saying, your higher self or the brotherhood,
The universe.
the teachers or the spiritual teachers, can drop that information into your consciousness because you have a clear channel. It's not all fogged up with your conscious thoughts.
Real
Right.
quick.
Here's a thought to think about. Whenever you do something positive for the infinite or the universe, or the universal mind, you will always get that positive energy back.
Real quick, we only got 5 more minutes left of the show, but telekinesis, this is something I'm really, all my life, I've always been drawn to this topic. Have you ever saw that in real life? A being, or a human being, not just any being, but a human being able to actually move third-dimensional objects merely with their minds?
Well, there's a phenomena that's documented in Russia. I think the book is called Psychic Discoveries Behind the Iron Curtain, where they documented that. That person had help from the other side. There were other beings, I wouldn't call them advanced spiritual masters by any sort, but other beings who help influence that. And the person doing the moving thinks they're doing it. They're not.
What? So telekinesis
There's
is not
a positive
possible?
use to psychokinesis. It goes into on our text in Unarius. So, like Lani was saying, when you have lost your keys and you relax the mind instead of
Yeah.
trying to statically or stressing out over where you put them, relax the mind and let yourself or your mind be guided to it. That's a form of psychokinesis.
There you go.
Wow.
There you go.
I just want to say thank you both. You guys have been awesome. David, Lani, you have been excellent guests. I'm going on the record. I'm inviting you guys back whenever you have my personal line. Definitely call me. Anything happening, you want to get it out, definitely come on the show. Minutes, we're minute men. Just give us minute notice and we'll put it together. Definitely have you two back on the show.
So we do have an Unarius anniversary celebration coming up in February, the 17th and 18th of February. And a lot of times, for people who can't get out here physically to attend, we live stream, you can check into how we live stream classes and stuff. There's a page on the Unarius website. Or we put a live stream on our Facebook page.
Oh, okay.
People can sign up to get our e-newsletter. That tells people what's going on. Like we have an event coming up, and that doesn't cost anything. So the e-news goes out, Unarius e-news, or again, you can watch the Facebook page, or you can look at the events and classes and stuff page on the Unarius website.
For anybody who is going to New York, we'll be there giving a live Tesla demonstration.
Really?
In the New Yorker Hotel, part of the expo there called the New Life Expo. I think it's March.
Or is it Conscious Life?
No, New Life. And it's March 17th and 18th, the weekend of that March. We will be there. Come and visit us. The lecture will be free. We also have another lecture on past life therapy. 2 lectures.
And that can help the beginning student to learn how to see their own past lives.
But it's nothing like seeing a live Tesla coil demonstration and lighting up a little light bulb and letting 250,000 volts pass through your.
I watched 2 of the Tesla videos on you guys' YouTube page, and I thought they were pretty good.
Yeah, you can see them that way too.
Yeah. So
I mean, I find this fascinating.
Unarius 33 is a YouTube channel.
Unarius 33, folks. I just want to say thank you, Lani and David. You guys have been great guests. People.
Well,
No, go ahead. I'm
appreciate
sorry.
you as host too, and we appreciate your questions and the opportunity to get the information out there.
Thank you. We're happy to do it anytime. Many of our
You guys are
students
awesome.
do
Truly
the same
gems to humanity. Truly gems to humanity.
Ladies and gentlemen, Lani and David, Unarius Academy of Science. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
Thank you.
The future is positive.
Yes.
That's right.
Always. You guys are awesome.
Thank you, guys.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you.
Good night.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Awesome. It was a great show, guys. You know, we had a lot of information.
A lot
A
of
lot of
you know.
information. And actually, this is one of the only shows we never cussed. So I don't see no more comments. Too much cussing.
Right,
And we actually
yeah.
let them complete their thoughts.
Yeah.
Say what they got to say.
Oh, we didn't cuss.
We did not cuss not one
Nope.
time. You
No,
know?
not one time.
So we
drunk
do
some
have
beer.
that in us.
Right.
We do have that in
We
us.
just ate some old country heathen.
Yeah.
A city slicking old country boy.
But I just want to say, tonight has been a great show.
Man, they got me with that past life, man.
Oh, yeah,
they
they got-
what
they had-
the hell I'm doing, because I'm going through some shit. And it's like, God damn, what the hell I do to deserve this, boy?
Because your ass was some nasty motherfucker in the past life.
So just remember, folks, if you out here and a bunch of shit happened, you probably done fuck some people over.
And that's why you got what you got coming.
That's right.
But we can change the cycle.
Yeah.
Ultimately, I believe David and Lani was saying we can change the cycle by changing our minds.
The thought process.
Changing
all
the way we
starts with
think.
the thought process.
And I'm a big believer, that what goes around does indeed come around.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
And we hit on, the slavery experience, a lot of negative energy was put forth in those 500 years.
Right.
So all that will be reconciled. And, maybe one day we will find ourselves able to leave this mud ball and go out here to the stars and take our rightful place amongst the great civilizations out there.
And meet other people.
Yeah. Well, as it is, man. My name's, I don't really have too much else to say. I'm True Power's Mind.
I'm Dimebag Dolly. If you want to contribute to the show or send anything in, help us out.
It's P.O. Box 133,
DeSoto, Missouri.
63020.
We want to thank Leslie from
Yes.
Olympia, Washington
For the microphone. Thank you, Leslie. This is, Leslie, Gary, a whole host of others.
It all started with Gary.
It all started with Gary, buddy.
Allentown, Pennsylvania. Thanks,
know.
Gary.
Thank you, buddy.
Leslie, we love ya.
And peace out. It's over.